जय श्री माता जी। श्री माता जी को नमस्तक होके बंधन लेंगे। We will bow down to Shri Mata ji and take bandhan. महामंत्र और श्री गणेश मंत्र। We will keep our right hand on the earth and left hand towards Shri Mata ji. हम अपने दाएं हाथ को भूमि माता पर रखेंगे और बाएं हाथ को श्री माता जी की ओर। प्रार्थना करेंगे। श्री माता जी कृपा करके हमारी ईड़ा नाड़ी को शुद्ध कीजिए। श्री माता जी Please cleanse our Ida Nadi. We will keep our right hand towards Shri Mataji and left hand towards this side. हम बाएं हाथ को श्री माता जी की ओर रखेंगे और बाएं हाथ को आकाश की ओर प्रार्थना करेंगे। श्री माता जी हमारी पिंगला नाड़ी को शुद्ध कीजिए। श्री माता जी प्लीज क्लेंस अवर राइट चैनल। We will give both the hands to श्री माता जी। अब हम दोनों हाथ श्री माता जी की ओर रखेंगे और प्रार्थना करेंगे। श्री माता जी कृपा करके हमें निर्विचार बनाइए। श्री माता जी प्लीज कीप अस द स्टेट ऑफ थॉटलेस अवेयरनेस। अपना पूरा चित्त सहस्रार में रखेंगे। We will keep our complete attention on Sahasrara and meditate for a while. इसी स्थिति में हम श्री माता जी की अमृतवाणी सुनेंगे. We will now listen to Shri Mataji's Amritvani.
आपली परवानगी असेल तर आधी इंग्लिशमध्ये बोलते थोडा वेळ आणि मग मराठीत बोलते. I bow to all the seekers of truth. As I told you yesterday, that when we are seeking truth, whatever we find through our central nervous system is the truth. The rest of it is either your mental projection or your emotional projection or your physical projection. It has no connection with reality. For example, a person says that one can cure cancer with such and such medicine. Now, if that medicine is found out, is being practiced and is being established as the real cure for cancer, then one can accept such a statement of a person that it's the true statement. Otherwise, it is still in the process of being a hypothesis, is not the truth. But there are so many other mental projections we have, which is really sometimes very surprising, and people feel aghast with the kind of projections we use to stop the progress of human beings as a whole. First of all, we do not think human being as a whole. We think that human beings are all divided into various parts. God never created this universe with that idea. It was one world that He created. Only thing, to create some variety, He had different types of faces, features. That He did just because without the variety you cannot have beauty. So as a whole, if you have to see the humanity, we have to understand many mistakes we have committed, otherwise there is no end to our destruction. Today we are standing at a brim of a great disaster. It's a great shock we are awaiting. With whatever we have done so far in science, in mental processes, in building up our political, economic, big enterprises, all those are standing at a point where we are lost and we don't understand how are we going to go further. The reason is the mind, which is more Western mind, I should say, not the Eastern mind. But the Western mind goes ahead thinking of the future which does not exist. And when it enters into that area which does not exist, it creates so many problems of very localized type, in the sense that it has no relationship with the whole. For example, our whole science is based on analysis. When you start analyzing things, you go on analyzing it to such a limit that there's a doctor for one hand and doctor for another hand sort of thing happens. Apart from that, when you go on analyzing things like that, you do not know what you are doing. Is it detrimental to the whole or not? You go on developing, say, atomic energy. You go up to a point and find out that atomic energy is destructive. You develop some medicine like penicillin or sulfur or something like that. You reach a point where you say it is too much. It all goes to the extremes and you feel the impact of that. Like even in cancer, I've seen people go for chemotherapy. Horrible stuff. You lose your hair, everything happens in such a way that part by part you start losing your body and you exist as a cabbage. This is no cure and this is in no way connected with the whole. Sahaja Yoga deals with human beings as if they are the whole being and the whole universe as a whole. And the human being is a part and parcel of the whole. It doesn't deal with a human being as something separate, like Indians have different problems, Russians have different problems, English have different problems. It deals with them as a whole, as one community. if you do too much in one country, you might affect the other country. Like, I think it was Roosevelt, if I am not incorrect, he said that prosperity anywhere can be threat to the prosperity everywhere. Is a fact. If one country tries to develop too much on material level, then there is a threat to other countries which are depending on it or which are going lower than it. Because we do not think as a whole that how it is going to affect. Our whole system of the body also goes down like that. Now, in the beginning, I am going to tell you how medically we suffer with this kind of a treatment that we have. I have not to in any way cast anything wrong about the doctors. I have also done medicine myself and I know what one has to do about it. But there should be an open-mindedness of a doctor, that he should see that there could be a better way of understanding this medicine from a higher point of view, if you can become a superior personality, what Confucius has said. To achieve that superior personality, one need not have to go to medical college or to do his other higher studies, but just it is something he has to find it within himself. It's a very simple thing to understand this, that if the tree grows too big, all Western culture is like that, it is grown too big, it must find out its roots. In the same way, if the human body has grown too much outside, it must find out its roots and also the source of its vital energies. If it cannot find it, it is definite somehow or other it will be exploded and finished. Now we think that the Western countries are very much advanced. I think they are really on the verge of destruction. The reason is they have gone so far with every kind of nonsense, like immorality. To them, morality is a nonsense. Like Mr. Freud, who was just a half-baked personality, I think, suffered from cancer, he had all kinds of complications, mentally he was absurd. Such a person was accepted as a guru for them. They even discarded Christ, because Christ said that thou shalt not have adulterous eyes. Now, how many Christians will find out like that? Impossible to find one Christian who doesn't have, who is not an Indian. Of course, Indians have very beautiful eyes, they don't have all these adulterous ideas, they are very innocent. But otherwise, you cannot find in the West one man who has got innocent eyes. The reason why Christ said this was not that he was not a medical man. He knew medicine better than so many of the doctors we have. He used to also cure people just by touching down. So why, when you have adulterous eyes, when you put your eyes outside with adultery, what do? You develop a very serious disease with it, which we call as the problems of the Muladhara. Problems of the Muladhara give you so many diseases which we cannot cure otherwise, which we call them as incurable. I don't want to name them because it will have an effect on people who have these diseases. Now this Muladhara is the first center we have within ourselves. This is a very important center within ourselves, is the first center. We have no map here, doesn't matter, but you have a book. It is what we call below the triangular bone is the center. It is below the triangular bone. Now this one must understand, because the triangular bone is the house of the Kundalini, is the Muladhara itself. But the center of Muladhara is below the triangular bone, because it is the center of our innocence. This center of our innocence is the one that gives us wisdom. That gives us most of our powers. Till the end, we have to have innocence, otherwise we cannot get realization. Under these circumstances, we have to understand that when these saints told us, or people like Christ and Buddha told us that we should have innocent eyes, they meant something very much deeper. And instead of criticizing them, we should try to see why they said it. Now these centers that are within us are basically 7. There are 1001, but basically there are 7 centers. The first center is the Muladhara, is of innocence. Even a disease like cancer can be easily cured among Indians. Disease like heart can be easily cured among Indians, but very much less with the Western mind. Because the Western mind is itself is ego personified. It is so egoistical. The doctors, the patients, everybody is so egoistical. Sometimes you get really frightened of them, that it is better to talk to a dog than to talk to them. The ego is so great in the Western countries that it is impossible to tell them that this ego is keeping you out of reality. Now it is a very, very small map and you cannot see, but it's all right, doesn't matter. What you have to see, now that the main thing one has to see is that we have got 7 subtle centers within us. Now the sense of morality that we lack, to begin with, thanks to the Britishers. When they were here, we never became like them. But when they have gone, now we become swatantra. Actually, swatantra means the technique of the swa means your spirit. Instead of becoming that, now we have become the tantra of the spirit in the mean, the alcohol that you get in a pub. Now, this is all the kindness of the Britishers who lived here for so many years, that they have given us the boon, that we have accepted all that they were doing, absolutely 100%, and now they are at the brink of destruction and we are going to follow them. Those people who have no sense of morality are more prone to diseases than the people who have sense of morality. I met a doctor in England and he said, I was amazed that Indians are living with all these mosquitoes and parasites and this, and they exist. Here we cannot exist. We cannot exist even for 10 days. I have got disciples who come here and they get sick when they come here because they can't bear all the so-called discomfort that they have to go through. They get mosquito bites, they get all kinds of things, and they feel horrible. They think this is sort of an aggression of some parasites on India. But we see our Indians are quite healthy people. The reason is they are moral. If they were not moral, they would have been finished on no time. But they are moral people. Their morality is keeping them. Despite all that we have done to them, the way they are deprived, they haven't got food, they are starving, whatever it is. The morality is their power which they are existing today. And because of that, only you can give them realization very easily. Like yesterday you saw, you all got realization so easily. Can you imagine such a thing in England or anywhere where I go to about 14 countries, oh God. I have to work for days together, break my hands and legs and everything. It pains me so much to raise their kundalini because they have no sense of morality. Here there must be some people who are like them, no doubt. But the crowd is such, the whole public is such which believes in the moral sense, in the morality of this country. And that's how it is easy to give them realization. So I bow to these people who are coming from villages, from smaller places, who are supposed to be very not so sophisticated, not so rich, nothing. But they have one great power within them, is their morality. And in these modern times, if anybody wants to talk about morality, he is an out-of-date person. First time I went to America, it was in 73. And they had started all these perversions, which I do not want to name in this holy areas. I don't want to talk about those things. But when I went and told them, don't do these things. These will cause you troubles. They will give you diseases. They all shunned me. They said, no, we don't want. They preferred such gurus who said, go ahead with it. Do more. Doesn't matter. You practice it. It's very good. That will help you a lot. All such people became very popular there. While I told them, this will trouble you. And when I went now, last year, they used to telephone to me, Mother, we are already in it. We've got AIDS, we've got horrible diseases, which are incurable, we are dying, now what to do? And such a mass of people, 65% of young people in America are not maids, women, they are all frigid people. They are, if you go and see there, everybody has to go a psychiatrist, because they are all mentally off, I think. Something wrong with them. Are we all going to become like that, or we are going to come back to our moral sense in India? Now, because of these moral ideas and because of our high ideals, perhaps there are hypocrites also. No doubt, we have hypocrites. But doesn't matter. Hypocrites are hypocrites. Let us now devote ourselves to one idea, that I will become so powerful that nothing can tempt me to become immoral. That is very important. That is what is Sri Ganesh. Sri Ganesha that we have, this Maharashtra is a great country where we have got Ashtavinayakas. Ashtavinayakas are something that have come out of the Mother Earth. As it is said in the Bible, that whatever is produced by Mother Earth and by the sky should not be reproduced and worshipped. Because people started reproducing, selling those murtis and all that. But it has talked about the Swayambhu. And these Swayambhus are in this Maharashtra. That has saved Maharashtrians from getting into lives which are not moral. But I'm surprised, I hear the elite class is very anxious to become westernized, you see. And let them be westernized, I don't mind. But they should now go to Houston and stay there. They have got better hospitals than they have here. This is what you are in for. And as a mother, I'm sorry, I have to tell you very frankly, there's nothing to be learned from these wretched people. This is the word I have to use, I'm sorry to say, because I have seen them in and out and I'm shocked the way they are. There is no purity about the mother. This Freud had no purity of the mother, and that's what he has taught it. The second center, we can say the center important point is your own mother, the Kundalini, which is a pure thing, is purity, is the Shuddha Ichha. Now, how can you talk to these people? I have no words to say. They have no pure ideas of purity, no relationship of purity. Every woman to them, every man to them is nothing but a horrible sex point. I shouldn't say all these things, but because I know there are people who are taking to this Western culture so fast because it is Western, I better warn you, be careful on that. Your children will become hippies, they'll take to drugs, they'll get into all kinds of dirty habits and filth, and they'll come back with horrible diseases which are incurable. All such people who believe in the Western culture should go and settle down there and enjoy themselves. It's better to leave this country alone. This is what we have to understand, that all those people who believed that what's wrong? What's wrong? The wrong is not only physical, it is mental, emotional, and worst of all, it is spiritual. In every way, it is wrong to be immoral. And that is what is dharma, is the 10 valencies within us. These 10 valencies are nothing but dharma, which was preached by all the great saints. We can start it from Adinath, we can say Lao Tse, we can say Confucius, we can say Zoroaster, we can say Muhammad Sahib, we can say Nanak Sahib, we can say Janaka, we can say all of them are the representation or manifestation of Dattatreya, which we know very well in Maharashtra what is Dattatreya. But despite all that, we do not know, we will worship Dattatreya and we will not follow him. This is the only problem we have, that we have all the ideas, we have all the capacity to understand that this is something great, but we have no power to follow it because we are not samarth, we are not equal to the meaning of a human being. If we are powerful, then it is easy, it is much easier to be virtuous and righteous than to be something else. But it is not so, because people find it is easier to become nasty and violent than to be good and righteous and kind. Is very difficult for them, which is a natural thing for all of us to be. So this is what is the second place we come to the triangular bone of Kundalini, where she resides. She resides in 3.5 coils. Now this is the residual energy I told you about. Within us there are, as I told you, there are 3 powers, subtle powers which work out. The other day, another college friend of mine told me that they have discovered that before the thought comes in, there is the activity doesn't show in the brain. So the pre-thought activity doesn't show in the brain. That means it is coming from some subtler force. I said it is in the medulla oblongata, and the brain it works out. Now we have got 3 channels. One is the channel on the right hand side, as we said it, and another on the left hand side, which crosses over at the agya, and they fall down. And there is the central path of evolution within us. Now the subtler side of these 3 nadis is the first one, as I told you on the left hand side, is we call it as Mahakali power. Now for people who have never even heard the name of Mahakali, is shocking. What is mother talking about? Yes, it is the Mahakali power. And this Mahakali power gives you the left sympathetic nervous system. The right one is the Mahasaraswati power. This one gives you the right sympathetic nervous system. The central one is the Sushumna. This is the path of our evolution. Throughout we have evolved through this path of Sushumna, where you ascend up to the Sahasrara, and when you cross that, then you become a realized soul. This is called as the Mahalakshmi's power. Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati, and three of them put together in the brain then become the Adi Shakti, the primordial mother, and that also we call it as the Adi Shakti's seat that is above your head. Now you'll be surprised, in this Maharashtra we have got all these 3.5 matras being expressed through the Mother Earth. Imagine this Maharashtra, how great it is. It has got Ashtavinayakas and 3.5 coils of these things shown here. Now people don't know where they are. They don't know. They are not bothered. They are so great in English, that they know more of folk and things. They know about whiskies, but they don't know about what a great blessings God has laid for us in this country. Let us come back. It's not Hinduism. It has nothing to do with Hinduism and Islam and all that. I'll also tell you about Islam. All of them have said about it. It's nothing new. In the Bible it is said, I'll appear before you like tongues of flames. Now what are tongues of flames? Are nothing but these centers. It has also talked about the tree of fire, which is a silent tree of fire. Moses has talked about it, Christ has talked about it, but the problem with people is that they don't want to see beyond their noses and want to accept everything that suits them to build up their own empires. Same about Islam, same about Sikhism, same about all the religions. People have done such a mistake. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Whatever is done, can be cured, because this Kundalini is your mother. She's sitting down there. Very comfortably she's sitting down there. She's waiting for a chance to give you your second birth. Now she's your individual mother. Everybody has like a tape recorder. It is being taped, all your past and everything in that Kundalini. She's the one who's sitting down there, and when she rises, what she does, she enlightens every chakras, and in the chakras we have different deities, and those all deities she enlightens. By that enlightenment, the chakras get vitalized and the disease is cured. There's nothing special about it. Now for angina he had, or we have so many other diseases. Let's see now what happens to the doctors. They can understand it better if I tell them about all these things. Like we can say all these chakras are expressed as plexuses outside, as gross plexuses outside which you know of. But they are on the physical level. But these chakras are dealing with your mental, emotional, spiritual and also physical side. Now in the medulla oblongata, most of them are placed except for the Agya chakra, we can say, and the 7 chakras which have got the seats there. So the all integration takes place in the limbic area. Now this is, they say, is the chakra, and these are the left and the right side. Now when we start moving it too much, then what happens, that when we start using our sympathetic nervous too much of activity or lethargy, one of the two, then what happens? It gets broken up. The relationship with the whole is broken up and you become on your own. One of the cells becomes on its own. That's how it becomes malignant. When it becomes malignant, you see, an ego-oriented person, if you meet someone, you become ego-oriented. A person I've known who has been very humble, good, moral, he goes to England, he talks like a horse. You just can't understand what happens to him. Because you meet other horses, you become like a horse yourself. You behave like a horse all the time, you go on behaving in such a manner that there is nothing of humanity left in you. So this what happens, that the cell itself becomes malignant and such cells start eating other cells and cancer is set. Now a simple thing we do, it is a tattva, it is the principle on which we work, is this: raise your kundalini. Once you raise the kundalini, what happens, that the center gets vitalized, comes back to normal. Once it gets to the normal, it gets connected with the whole, you get your cancer all right. It should be all right, not necessarily in everyone, but in most of the people it can work out. But as soon as I talk about healing, that's why I didn't want to talk here. Immediately everybody will try to find out how many relations they have got who are sick. and bring all of them on my head to be cured. This is not the point. The point is you have to become the doctors yourself, as Mr. Marotrans told you very kindly, that you have to become a realized soul and you can cure them. Mother doesn't have so much time, so let us do it that way. You all can become doctors. Even a little child knows it, because what happens that when you become a realized soul, then your fingers, your fingertips can feel the centers of another person and of your own. They know what's the problem with that other person is. You need not tell that person that you have got cancer. But you know if somebody is going to die, what happens? These things are to be decoded. That's what only I have done, is to decode it. Because I had to decode, that's my job. After decoding, you must practice it and see for yourself that these fingertips, 5, 6 and 7 are the 7 centers. These 5, 6 and 7 are 7 centers of the right hand side. Now if you put them together, they form 7 centers like that. So you can find out if the person is suffering on the emotional side or is suffering on the physical and mental side, you can find out on your fingertips. Only thing you have to know is the permutations and combinations, how it is working out, what happens. For example, for angina, now is a left Vishuddhi, as we call it, on the left side, left Vishuddhi and the heart. If these two combine, then you get an angina. Angina is caused by lethargic heart that becomes lethargic. It cannot produce any more pumping. Because sometimes the arteries are thickened and all those things. But it is not difficult to cure it, because if you can put your effect on the Kundalini to come up here and make it rise, it will work out. Like in his case also, same thing happened, that when Kundalini came up to the Vishuddhi chakra, you see, the heart tried to, it is a combination. The heart pushed, because heart got the information, it pushed itself out and the whole thing opened up. And I knew that he was all right, so I got into the car and went away, but he felt quite nervous. How is it she's just gone away? Because I knew he was cured. You can know, you can cure. The other day, somebody came to me and he said he has got angina, he was very serious and he had to go to Houston. I said, all right, I treated him and he was improving. I said, it will take some time, but he couldn't help it, he came to London. Again, I treated him. I said, you are all right. Believe me, you're all right, there's nothing wrong with me. So I went to Houston despite all that. And the Houston people said that all your tests are wrong, it's all hospital's mistakes, this, and he went to the best hospital in Bombay. So it is nothing special, it's nothing great, I can tell you this much. It is only that you have to use your residual energy to come up and then connect you to the mains, so that your energy is all the time flowing into you. You feel the energy all the time, like when you are going in the car and the car is filled with petrol, but it goes being used up and you find that petrol is finishing. Then you get worried and you get attention about it. But supposing there's a way or method where you can have eternally petrol running into your car, you are not bothered. But this is not the only thing happens. So many things happen, which I will tell you in Marathi language later on. I hope you don't mind, because I think we should come to some language compromise. I must say, you are all living in Maharashtra, and Marathi language is one of the most enriched language as far as Kundalini is concerned. Thank God I was born in Maharashtra, I say. Because not only about Kundalini, but it's a very rich language. And the plays and everything so full of moral values. Such a beautiful, of course now we have some horrible people who are trying to copy the West people, and some intellectuals are going down. And there are some, of course, very rigid old style people also. But in between, if you see, it's a beautiful language and one should try to learn it. It's, all my disciples are trying to learn Marathi language. I don't say it should become a national language or anything. Hindi itself is a very great language, no doubt. We should have a national language. But those who are living in Maharashtra should know Marathi language, which is such a literary language, it's such a cultured language that if you know it, I mean, it is so great and deep you cannot imagine, that the whole thing is so historical. The Maharashtra was the first language that came out of the first Prakrit. First the Sanskrit, then the Prakrit, then the Sanskrit, and then came the Prakrit. In that second Prakrit came out, the first language was Maharashtrian, Magadhi, Paishaji, all these 5 languages, out of which the Maharashtrian remained the same, the other languages took other forms. So it's the original language, and people have worked very hard on Kundalini in this part of our country, which is such a rich heritage we have. Of course, we have some rigid people who talk too much, who read too much, who are eccentric, who I know all that has to be a part of it. You cannot help it. But that doesn't mean that people are not understanding here the deeper side of human being. It is in this country, in this part of the country, people have gone to the roots from the very beginning, from the Dattatreya's time, even earlier than that. In this country, they have worked it out and they have found out the basis on which we decide. So it's a very great thing that we have got people like Markandeya, we had people like Shandilya, we had people, very great people we had, we can say those who gave realization to Indras and all those things. So this is what, this country is the place where the Nathas, where Machinder Nath, Gorakhnath, all these people lived in this country where they worked for the Sahaja Yoga, where they gave realization to people in a very sacred manner. Because it was so sacred, they kept it a secret also. And they worked it out. They didn't talk about religion. They talked about giving realization of Atma-bodha. And one of them who came out very well from the south is Shankaracharya, who talked about Atma-bodha throughout. But you'll still find people will bring a book of Shankaracharya and argue with me and discuss with me, but not understand what he has said. After realization, you will understand what all these things like Gita or Bible or Quran, all these things mean. So I have to tell you, these 7 chakras are within us, and you've got a book, you can go through and read it. But understand that it's a fact. Within us, all this power lies. So why not? We take to that power, which is our own, which makes us so powerful and so compassionate, so great, because this is what we have to be. Our evolution is not over. Our human awareness is not at that point. You'll be amazed. In the West, it is much more understanding. In the West, people have much more. The intellectuals in the West are much more my disciples than here. The reason is the intellectuals have reached their height of intellect and they know the limitations of intellect. And they also say that intellect has a capacity to cheat itself. So they understand it better than the so-called intellectuals in this country. It's very surprising. I think it is better that it should come from the West because we like the fashions to come from West. If it comes from the West, then people will take to it. Otherwise, here there are people who are challenging me, will give you 5,000 rupees if you can cure such and such person and this and that. This is absolutely, basically wrong. Because I have nothing to do with money and all that. It is nothing to do. On the contrary, come and see, get your realization. Why are you challenging me? Am I taking your money? Am I doing anything wrong to you? Why are you after my life? I have done no wrong to you. I have not brought anything that is disastrous to you. I don't want your votes. I am not in politics or economics or anything. Why should you be angry with me? The reason is they feel challenged. It is better. All of those who think they are intellectuals must have that true intelligence. That's what I find in the West. They have true intelligence, a sharp intelligence, to see the point that it exists, it is there, and then to respect that intelligence and to accept it full-hearted. That is what is needed today among the intelligent people, not to be tied down to whatever knowledge they are acquired, but the knowledge is unlimited. Even Newton, who was such a great scientist, said that, I am like a little child picking up pebbles on the shore of knowledge. Newton said that, but that kind of humility is gone now. People don't have that humble nature. They don't have that number. Actually, knowledge is more respected. Vidya vinayena shobhate. If you have respect, then you must have humbleness to see that there is another point which we should see. And if you have to really help people and yourself and the whole world at large, you must bow down to understanding that there could be a better way of solving these problems you have not solved at all. Because I tell you, all these projections are linear. They move in one direction, they fall off. Everything is linear. But Sahaja Yoga is a synthesis of everything. It's like the light in the center, it spreads all sides. It doesn't go to one side and falls off and again turns back to you to harm you. It is not that way. It is one point from where the light emits all over. So I have to request you to take your science and everything with great understanding. I had to learn science myself and also medicine just to talk to doctors is not the point. Also, if it's a doctor who is a realized soul, it helps a lot on the medical side. If it is a psychiatrist who is a realized soul, it helps tremendously for the mad people to get cured. So if you have got that knowledge, it is the epitome of that knowledge, is the main principle, the tattva of that knowledge which you catch. And once you have the principle, it's very easy to handle the whole situation. As my professors will tell you, I used to always top the list in my college schools, and I never used to study much. And because to me it came out very simple, because I knew the principle behind everything. So to weave them together was very easy for me, because it's the foundation I knew. In the same way, it should be easier for people who get into Sahaja Yoga, get their realization, forgetting their education for the time being, and then coming back to their education to use it for a better purpose of treating the whole. May God bless you all. I hope I have been able to give you some introduction to Sahaja Yoga, but of course it's not possible to elaborately talk about Sahaja Yoga. I must have given at least 2,000 lectures only in England, so you'll be surprised. But they have got my tapes, and if you get your realization, and if you are established, you can listen to those tapes, because we have certain ways of avoiding coming in contact with people who are just beginners. Let the beginners settle down. Once they are settled down, they have that much power to bear the truth. Otherwise, if you tell somebody the truth, he can come up and beat you. That's all he'll do. That's why they did. What was the need to crucify Christ? I can't understand. Can you explain? No need at all. What was he doing? He did no wrong. And because he did no wrong and he was crucified, in the same way it is tactful now to go slowly about people. So first of all, you have to settle down in Sahaja Yoga, and then you can get the complete knowledge about Sahaja Yoga. There are certain books which we do not give to people because we don't think that they can read it and understand it and bear it. So after some time, they can get it. But I appeal to all the intelligentsia of Pune city, because it is the center of intelligence in Maharashtra, to stand up to this and to see for themselves. I have not done any studies. I have not read any books. I have done nothing of the kind. I have just read that compassion is the greatest power. And I have just known the methods of compassion and love. And I have worked it out with that compassion, which is not attached to anything. It has no repayment. It has no advancements. It has no asking. It is just there. It just emits. It just works out. That's all I know. I don't know all these big books. When people tell me Ganeshwar is like that, Gita is like that, and Shankaracharya said that, I hear from others. But I don't read. I have no time to read anything. But I would say that you have to read yourself through Sahaja Yoga, and you can read others also very easily. And then what these books have said, you will understand better. May God bless you again, and I hope you will sit down for a while to listen to me in Marathi language.
श्री माता जी, कृपा करके हमें आध्यात्मिक उत्थान प्रदान कीजिए। श्री माता जी, please bless us with the spiritual ascent. Thank you, Shri Mataji, for today's evening meditation and for your divine blessings. Shri Mataji, आज के ध्यान के लिए आपको कोटि कोटि प्रणाम। श्री माता जी को सबको हम बंधन लेंगे। We will all go down to Shri Mataji